Spooky! Yeah, spooky. Everybody thinks about the CJ system and they think about crime, murder, black people, white people, Mexican people, European people, Jamaican people, guns, knives, blood, gore, but you never think about the things that are realistic as to Hollywood fairy tale, how it plays in reality. Is it real? Is there really a scene of the macabre, the pre-months of Halloween and existing? Yeah, it exists. Satanism, Luciferianism, Beelzebub, the devil, Mephistopheles, Tinka, all the cool words, all the cool religions of it. One would say religions, but we got to be adequately clear because the Constitution shouldn't be adequately clear as it describes your rights and privileges under the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the amendments. Tonight we're entering a subject surrounded by religious fear, pastoral, reverend, bishop, whatever the heck you want to call those people that talk to all the crowds. Who set this up, man? It's like glaring. Somebody say something. God, it's like the torch of Mephistopheles in my face. Nah, but it's the sensationalism of Hollywood, the media, things that we have to set a prelude for ourselves as scholars to understand before we start talking about the devil and Satanism and sacrifice and bloody rocks in the woods and animal graveyards to where cats come alive and kill people. The person identifies as a Satanist basically enters the courtroom and demands religious liberties, such as a Christian, a Catholic, a Muslim, a whatever religion it is, because of something called the Constitution, freedom of religion, the Declaration of Man, the French, the influence to the Constitution. And a lot of people thought the Constitution was just a good idea of a bunch of guys with wooden teeth. No. Came from France, the Declaration of Man. What happens when the Satanic Temple asks to deliver a government invocation? Yeah, invocation. Are they waiting for the invocation for the invocation? No, it establishes the after-school club. It establishes the clique. It establishes the system to where someone in the courtroom is going to be willing to accept that, hey, there's an indifference here, or there is a difference here. Would you like to be the one chastised for what you believe in? We're going to talk about this tonight. The First Amendment does not apply only to religious perceived protections. No, not the perceives. There's not an alphabetic list. There's not a numerical category. And simply, I haven't seen it in my years and decades of doing this. Never seen it. Because it doesn't exist, people. It does not limit religious liberty to Christianity, Judaism, Islam, or other historical established faiths or foundations of belief. It's not limited to just what you hear about and what you see daily on the street. It's restraining. It restrains government from establishing religion and protecting religious exercise, period. That's what it does. That's what the Constitution does. It's the overreach. It's the overbearing. It's kind of like Wicca, the witches. Yeah, anybody remember when that became popular, like the past decade? A lot of people were running around, I'm a Wicca witch. I'm a Wiccan warlock. I'm a this or that, We're not knocking it. We're just saying, hey, there is that First Amendment. The difficult cases arise when it's something claimed by an organization that would possibly have an image or a symbol that's alarming to the public, kind of like the swastika. Yeah, Nazis, 1938, 1944, the swastikas, yeah, 1944, even today in 2026, but what are the origins to it? Is the original origin protected? Go all the way back to the 1930s. Jews, Hebrews, the Jews, not spelled the way you would think it's supposed to be, Jews, Jews, Jews. Yeah. The swastika, but instead of sideways, it was vertical up and down, and it was represented by a Jewish soccer team. Do your research on that. Somebody send me an email if you want me to send you a picture. Yep, we got the email right there. Yeah, somebody said stop the scroll. It's too quick. We can't write stuff down. So there you go. It's stopped. It's frozen in time for you. Kind of like the frozen in time fear you would have with Satanism, Luciferianism. Tonight, you got to separate the differences. You got to actually understand what the claim of automatic authenticity is in Satanism and Luciferianism and how it applies to a courtroom in the United States, the actually significant, sufficed, and suffered legal standings. Yeah, the injuries to religion, the injuries to the Constitution based on the fear of society, the church, other religions, the movies, the minority religion that should not be seen or should lose or should be alarming or disalarming in a courtroom, because we're not going to do it in a courtroom, so therefore it's not alarming. We've disalarmed it to society. It's one of those things. How the American courts identify and evaluate religious claims. That's kind of critical here. Satanism, Luciferianism, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the differences in it. No, we're not going to talk about the different levels of what would be perceived as recognizing demons or different names. We're not getting that deep here. We're just talking about the linguistic categorization of what one would claim. No one has a problem with Judaism in a courtroom, Islam in a courtroom, Christianity in a courtroom. It's kind of that question. It's Christianity, it's Protestant, but why are there 15 kabibulan names for churches? Southern Church of the Holy Dove, Cross, Ocean, Crocodile Tails. There's all kinds of names, but the names that put people in fear just simply put people in fear, and it shifts their mind away from what they would want to claim as a right or privilege under the Constitution and the amendments and the first 10, the Bill amendments that would apply to them, because they hear the Dana Carvey Saturday Night Live Satan. Now they're petrified of it. How fear, the moral panic, the controversy, the narratives. Now, we're not here pro, we're not here negative. We're applying this to law, the United States Constitution, a courtroom, so that when you hear about it, you're not just theologically in the dumpster bag because somebody said, oh, it's wrong, it's the devil, it's Beelzebub, Mephistopheles, Satan, the influence, they're insane, they have a psychopathy. No, that's not always the case. There's a constitutional neutrality to this, and it requires controversial belief also during the court proceeding and all case investigation. Unfortunately, not all investigators are trained in recognizing this. There's not a theologian section of the academy. There's not a theologian section of certified investigator programs, investigator schools, Fleet C, Quantico, whatever the academy would be. But let's understand a few things. The introductory part of what you need to know before you get into scholarly arguing anything about a specific religion and how it applies to the Constitution and in a courtroom. You've got to be able to understand the narratives, what it is, essential, the discussion points of breakdown. Satanism is not a uniform religion with a single doctrine or central authority like most people would think. Satanism, it's got to be the devil. It's got to be the cloven hoof human body with a goat head and horns. No, it's not what it is. It's not a single doctrine with a single authority. Some Satanists in the United States, and you're like, where does this guy getting his information? Well, it's called research, people. It's called reaching out and contacting a few people. Some Satanists interpret Satan as a literal spiritual being. Yeah, just like God, just like all the different names one would call God, one would call Jesus, one would call a disciple, one would call any religious spirit or deity in their specific religion, the spirit. And a lot of people would argue that back to the United States with the indigenous people, the true Americans, the indigenous, the natives. Well, shamans were of the devil. No, shamans, the indigenous people of the United States did not practice shamanism. Period. Done over. How do I know? Life experience. Yeah, something called a reservation. So some Satanists interpret Satan as that spiritual being. We've got this, while others see Satan as a simple symbolic figure, much like back in the biblical days. Thou shalt not worship any other idol or, so to say, God other than the one, right? Jehovah, God, Allah, Luciferianism. God, I can't even say that straight right now because I'm looking at multiple screens. A lot that practice connect it to knowledge, self-development, self-enlightenment, individual autonomy, although the inherent identity of it holds specific and certain beliefs that are completely separated from Satanism. Now, one would say, how do you separate the two? One, as you were growing up, is a figure. But you never heard Mephistopheles, Beelzebub, Tarantika, all the good names. It's kind of like the boogeyman, the booger man. You never hear those names, Sabaksanka. You never hear other language names, so you don't know how to interpret the actual external name that episodic memory drawers in your head are opening up, and you're like, hey, I don't understand that name, but it represents the same thing. But Luciferianism is just the symbolic of an autonomy of view. Sometimes one would say it equals self-worth, self-awareness, self-being. Legal analysis of both of the two together fall prey to something. Neither one are really understood. One must identify the claimant's actual belief rather than tying it to secularism, Hollywood, social media, society, and horror films. Horror films are the worst. Media, Hollywood. If it's there, it's actually real. The theological accusations, sometimes, well, I wouldn't say sometimes, I would say the majority of the time, so all the documentation and research I've done and, some of the people I've talked to, is a stereotype. Yep. Bye-bye. What, Satan scares you? Hold on. Let me get something going, guys. I got to get the rail going here. Totally forgot about it. Yeah, I know, I'm behind. Actually, I'm 10 minutes behind with it. It's already started. It has already started. My bad. Don't get angry. Please don't. Anyway, back to the thing. The historical construction of Satanism, the Western history. Satanism was more often an accusation made by outsiders than a name adopted by the original religion of a religious community. Period. Religious minorities, alleged heretics. Yeah. Something against the actual spiritual belief of the society, spiritual belief of the community. Religious minorities allege that these people were heretics, much like vampires and witches together. You're a vampire and you're a witch, therefore you're a heretic. Religious communities, okay? Also, it was used in development and political means. The pressure, the push. Practitioners of old folk, old school religion, old school politics. Still still practiced this day. Social marginalized groups. Yeah, it applies there. Sometimes depicted as servants of evil. You hear that all the time. You even hear it in main live stream media. People fall victim to the algorithm. People fall victim to the fear that's pushed in social media because you're very selective on what you listen to, especially if you listen to the circulatory verbiage of those that are of a religious or specific background, and they're arguing behavior of someone from, let's say, another country, another religion, and the involvement of activities that they're in, be it violent, be it non-violent, be it protest, be it practicing First Amendment. Yeah, it's used as a political tool, even though under the description, Satanism is not one uniform religion with a single doctrine. All of you got to understand this, and the satanic church, the satanic verses, the satanic Bible. It's multi-interpretive. There is no one. I hate to break it to all of you that are the satanic church followers. No, it's not. Historically, it isn't. You want to really do your true research on it? Get out of the United States. Go to the European theater. That's where the birthplace is, the European theater. That means you got to do some research outside of here, the stateside. Why does this matter? Why does everything coming out of my mouth matter right now? The historical images of Satanists were constructed by the accuser. Remember, the winner writes the book of history. The winner gets to tell the tale of how the fight was fought. The winner gets to write the book because the vanquished are either dead, gone, in prison, mouths silenced, right? Letters, books destroyed, burned. Nothing for you to see. The stereotypical spiritual involvement, the rituals, the inverted morality, one is better than the other, the sexual deviancy, the sacrifice, the blasphemy, the conspiracy against specific Christianity's sociological environments. It's all in existence. You've heard it before. You grew up with it. It's nothing new to you. Keep the legal classes separate from internet rumor. Yeah, well, that's what we try to do. That's why I said it's all media based. Academic history, okay? Satanism particularly is a product of, let me hurt you, Christian demonology. Yes, there is a such thing as demonology. Yes. Christianity. Catholic. Yes. Demonology. It exists. Why do you think the scriptures are reviewed about it? Why do you think there's so much doctrine and so much research about it? Go to Rome. Go to the Vatican. Go to Vatican City. Make an access request. Yeah, I did it once, was denied. Did it twice, was denied. Did it a third time once when I was in the European theater. Got access to the first room. Yep, couldn't get any farther than that. Those guys have big guns. Yes, Vatican City police, yep, they have big weapons. Modern self-identified Satanists develop much later versus, so to say, the historical pretext, the foundation of the country, the forefathers, the guys with the wooden teeth, the pilgrims, the Salem witch trials. The modern Satanists self-identified and developed into a more, I would say, argumentatively structured manner versus the accused manner. Remember, the accuser writes the details of the book. The historical distinction of importance in the criminal justice system, Luciferianism and Satanism, is critical if you're going to be a true scholar and a true investigator, and you come across the religious aspect of criminal investigation as it applies to occult or crimes. Example would be a case I worked with Interpol. For those of you that do not know what Lycanism is, Lycan, werewolf, there is a practitioner set in the European theater and the United States of Lycanism. Werewolf, it's not based off of the fictional TV shows that you would see, the Hollywood spectrum. It's a practice and it's a lifestyle, and it is ritualistic, just like those in the nowadays of 2026 that still practice heretic, witchcraft, Wicca, vampirism, truly drinking blood. Both to mix together, heretic. Is it written down somewhere as this is a documented religion? No. Where's the documented religion that Christianity is the sole foundation of religion or built structure within the United States? If there is one, that would be a conflict or a contradiction on the what? Constitution, protection of religion, freedom of liberty, right? So the empirical criminal justice match with the actual data. Satanists have sometimes shaped investigations before the investigation even started. You were taught, you were raised, Satanist, bad. Churchy church, Sunday school, good. Judaism, good. Satanist, yeah, Lycanism, bad. Luciferians, bad. But if it was bad, why is there a study of demonology in theologian school and theologian teaching? So there's that conflict. Everybody's out there to push the gambit in society or point that finger or push that button, but we're not talking about the church. We're not talking about somebody's moral aspect. How does it apply to CJ, criminal justice, psychology, sociology, and the Constitution? That's what this show is here for tonight, so to say. The investigation begins without the true details or the meat. The symbol provides the ritual to the start of the methodology of the investigation. Black clothing, alternative music, occult literature, pentagrams, fantasy games, non-Christian religious material. How many of you wear black clothing? How many of you look different? How many of you listen to the alternative cool music that isn't aesthetically or audibly pleasing to everybody else? The imagery, it's the occult, it's satanic. What do you listen to? Put it in the chat. I'm a Christian and I still think the rule has to apply evenly. The rule of what? Constitutional privilege, constitutional recognition. So, it's all based on what is the credible culpatory statement or credible evidence of an investigator as it applies to a case that involves Satanism, Luciferianism. What's the credible evidence? Are we investigating the crime, or are we investigating the person, or the what we would perceive to be a specific religion, or is it a practice, belief, a lifestyle, recognition of a deity, a spirit, a figure? You've got to understand the differences between both before you get into the investigation and start, in layman's term, pointing the symbolic religious finger at someone that you would perceive to be the perpetrator of the villainous, heinous incident. When it's merely an objective investigation, you go where the evidence takes you. Thus, the need to understand the definitive separating identities of the two, how it works, how it applies into society. How many of you know somebody that, seeing from a distance, would be probably argued as someone of the occult? Heck, I know. I went to a meeting just this past week. Yep. Tennessee government meeting. All kind of federal judges, state judges, local judges, congressmen, representatives, both Democrat and Republican. And I walked in a, three-piece Peaky Blinders suit with a goatee, piercing, steel tattoos, and I was looked at like I was the monster of the horror show until people started finding out who was that guy. Then attitudes changed. Methodology of verbal selection changed with the person, much like an investigator that would understand the difference in Luciferianism and Satanism. Yeah, the investigator has to understand these things. All right, the theistic, the non-theoretical, the non-theistic Satanist, okay? What is this saying? Why is the reading opinion matter more than reacting to the headline? Okay, what are you talking about? You talking about an investigation? Help me out with that. Appalachian Nights? Help me out with that. I don't understand that question. I don't know, guys. It's coming from the node. It's coming from the semester starting, all right? We have our own server node within the CJ in different departments. All right. This theistic Satanists generally understand Satan, Lucifer, or the related entity is a real, living, breathing, spiritual entity. Yeah, because it's real. It's theory. It's not theory. It's theoretical. You can touch it. You can see it. But it's based on varying beliefs. Greatly, not a single organization represents the, theistic Satanists. That's kind of a rarity. Nons are more predominant, on the globe than the ones that really believe they're going to walk out and touch Beelzebub, Mephistopheles, or the devil. Thus, the interpretation, the super literal supernatural being, the influence, the self, the identity, the practice, the lifestyle, the beliefs. Instead, the representation of rebellion, arbitrary authority failure, personal autonomy, reason, skepticism, bodily, the freedom or resistance to religious domination of the church or the domination of a specific entity outside of your own belief. Christianity, Judaism, some would say it's hedonism. Just tapping in, I'll have to watch from beginning. Yep, started over. It's going to be here forever. Theory first, facts second is a dangerous order. Well, theory and understanding that you think you know the difference between the two is kind of dangerous because it's still a criminal investigation, constitutional law, even though it's believed that there's a satanic practice in this or there's a Luciferianism influence in this. Well, there's always some kind of satanic practice. Think about violent crime. Think about rape, murder, molestation. Think about something that draws human blood. Yeah. So I guess the cartels of the world that dismember bodies, murder, mayhem, dismemberment, are they all Satanists? But yet the cartels worship one specific figure that one would confuse to be a Catholic spiritual deity and or a representation of the Catholic face. Anybody know what that is? Kind of looks like a devil, kind of like, Day of the Dead, Muthre and Cobra. Buthre Unkobwa. Yeah. Little demon of the dope dealers? Yeah. The distinct frequency disappears in the public debate of what Satanism and Luciferianism is. It's gone. That has a big influence on law enforcement. Law enforcement is pushed by the courts, pushed by society to solve the case. The religious liberty dispute of the one practicing a specific religion, a specific recognition of a spiritual entity, a deity, a lifestyle, a format. The rejection is always going to be there, and it's going to be rejected in society. Yep. All of you have been rejected in some shape, form, or fashion because of the way you look, your beliefs, the way you feel, things that you do. How many of you listen to that dark metal heathenistic music? Yeah. Does that make you a Satanist? But yet you're practicing some of the views of society. Or is it just simple lifestyle choice that mimics Luciferianism? The dark images of you. It's kind of like, who is the greatest serial killer on the planet? The history of mankind. That would be Michael Myers. Equal opportunity serial killer. Dismemberment person. Chop you right up. No big deal. However, does that make me a Satanist? Or does that make me a sadist? A lot of people get sadist and Satanist mixed up too. So, two proportions can be identified with Satanist, right? We've got that. But there's pretty much a standing of one proportion for the Luciferianismist. You got to understand the two and how they break down, all right? Luciferianism is not automatically Satanism. It's not. Luciferianism is a broad and decentralized collection of philosophical, historical, so to say, right? Eocentric beliefs, eocentric narratives, eocentric understanding. Now, I said eocentric. I didn't want to put it into ideology that can be shifted into rhetoric or edict, because if you're not from that, so to say, plateau of Luciferianism, you're not going to understand the eocentric part of it. Sometimes the eocentric becomes a religious position itself. Look at other religions that are eocentric. You go to church all day long. The eocentric, I've got to be a part of the flock. I've got to be a part of the people, the sheep, the gathering. Well, can't you go outside and look at the sun, the trees, the stars, the little baby deer, the puppies, the kitties? Somebody higher than you, a spiritual entity or a deity, made this. But one would argue the spiritual deity or entity that made all of those cute hairy cats made Mephistopheles, Beelzebub, Luciferianism, Satan, Satanism, the devil. Yeah. Also your influence, the influence of your love for horror. How many people love horror movies? The gorier the better, the more chilling and frightening the better. The ones that get your dopamine up, your adrenaline. Yes. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes make you angry. That Tetrafan gets all twisted out because it ended wrong for you and you didn't like it, and now your brain shifted. You Luciferianistic person, you satanic privileged thinker. That's you. Decentralized philosophy. Yep. That's you. Decentralized. Lucifer and Satanism may be, so to say, interpreted as a symbol. And symbol of illumination. The third eye. The cross. Yeah. The ghost. The spirit. Well, then we say it, right? The 12 disciples. The illumination of intellectual independence after being taught by the one. Why not? You're doing it as yourself in society at a university. The intellectual that was developed being taught by the many. Now you've got to be the one to replace somebody that, teach somebody to replace you. The independent, the intellectual you, the self-mastery of Luciferian. Just the whole privilege. Luciferianism. Yep, the rebellion, the transition. I know it's hard to Luciferianism and Lucifer and cut it all off into separate words, but unfortunately in society it's also seen as a hidden knowledge too. Yeah, Lucifer spirituality. That's what some of my conversations told me. Others treat it as a symbolic stance, a belief system, the important ceremonial practice of daily occult. Not that it's bad. Law enforcement practices a daily occult spiritual process. Yes, the prayer. Yeah. Will I make it home alive? The pageantry of getting together. How many of you know law enforcement officers that wear medallions? St. Thomas, St. Christopher. What about firefighters? Oh. Who's the guy in charge of the fire? Mephistopheles, the devil, Satan, Lucifer? Which one? Is it a Luciferian that set the house on fire and created an arsonist event for law enforcement and fire marshals to investigate? Because Lucifer is commonly equated with Satan in Christian theology. Pain, suffering, evil, fire. The public discussion often treats Luciferianism as simply another name for devil worship when it's not. It's two different things. Two completely different things. Hey, it is kind of like, are there not separate sects of Hebrew, Judaism? Yes. Yes, you don't have to be born in Israel or born a Hebrew to be converted over. That's another topic for another day. So yes, sometimes Luciferianism is considered Satan worship, or those, as Dana Carvey would say, the devil, with a big echo. If I had like a big echo. Actually, matter of fact, I do. Let's see if we can do it. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Satan? No, that's not it. Hold on a minute. I got to get this going. Test. Hold on. We're going to get it. Satan? No, it's not working. Thought it was going to be a big echo thing, but for those who watch Saturday Night Live, Dana Carvey, Satan? Yeah. So, we understand that one is not the other and the other is not the other, so to say. It's commonly equated with Satan in Christian theology, but Luciferianism is not really Satanism, guys. The legal significance of the distinction is profound. It's individualistic. It is. One's not going to be Jewish or Hebrew or practice Judaism and believe in the same things close to Christianity, but one's not going to be considered or call themselves Christian either. Some of it's close, maybe not identical. You know, for example, one Luciferian claimant might request, I don't know, possession of religious literature. Period. But think about requesting that in prison. Would you give someone a Bible? Would you give someone a Quran? Would you give someone their book of their own spiritual deity or their own spiritual beliefs or their theological upbringing and their theological teaching by those that went to theologian school and became pastors, reverends, priests, all the above? But if you were working in a correction system, would you go out of your way to get a text on Luciferianism and give it to someone knowing they're claiming they're Luciferian and they want a text on that specific literature? Oh, but you would argue. Then you would find yourself contextually with a lawyer who's willing to step on the hot poker against you and come up with the constitutional right violation against you. Yep. There are people out there that work these type of cases that are attorneys. Yes, constitutional, not just bloodsuckers that chase ambulances or black attorneys that wait for another black person to get shot and jump on the black guy got shot bandwagon, or white attorneys that are ambulance chasers waiting for some cracked out white dude to get in a wreck and kill somebody and it was the white soccer mom. We're not talking about that kind of attorney. We're talking about true, certified, bona fide, constitutional attorneys, constitutional procedure and precedent and case study law to prosecute you and get rid of your career because you refuse to go make an effort to find a text on Luciferianism, however you want to say it. Lucifer, the devil. Yeah, it's constitutionally protected, people. People would argue, like, no, it's not. It's the devil. It's evil. It's against everything in the United States. No, it's not. Where's the law? Where's the federal law that says Christianity is the sole religion of the United States? That's like you're not going to find one law that says English is the religion, is the language or linguistic text of the U.S. It's the most predominant, yes, but it's not. Now, there was a bill, I had someone, I think it was Crayons, yeah, Color Me Bad by Crayons, who was on here the other night. He actually pulled up the bill for us and showed it. But yeah, there was an attempt at it If there was an attempt last year, 2025, that's proof enough. And it was done by the Trump administration. So make sure your claims are right when you argue, because if you work in that correctional system and someone requests that, it's a held practice. It's a belief protected by the Constitution. Just like something as weird as what someone would say Wicca would be. How many of you ever heard of Wicca? And it was compared to Satanism, Luciferianism, but people did not understand the actual pretext of this specific spiritual entities, just like people confuse demon and devil names. You watch too much Hollywood, say his name and he'll go away. Well, not every name that's affiliated with Satanism, Satanic, Lucifer, right? Luciferianism, not all of the names are names of evil, dastardly villains of the 5th, 6th, and 7th level of hell. That's what society's taught you. That's what church has taught you. That's what Sunday school has taught you. That's what the Catholic synagogue, that's Mass has taught you. But we're talking about criminal justice and CJ and constitutional protective rights individually, all right? So if that Luciferian asked for that text in the prison, should they get it or should they not? Is it the ultimate evil? They're studying Satan in prison, but Luciferianism is not the same thing as Satanism. We've already covered this. Another might request time for meditation and ritual. Why not? Would you give it to somebody that was Muslim? Meditation, ritual, the direction. Which way is Mecca? I need a prayer rug. Ritual? But you're not going to get it for the Satanist, are you? The Luciferian? No, we're not going to get that because it's evil. Horns and pitchforks. Dead bodies, dead babies, ripped off arms and tongues. Yeah, the things that make people say, oh, it went bump in the night, but mom said it was bad. Pastor said it was bad. But remember, there's always that attorney out there, constitutional, that's waiting for that, like a blood-sucking leech, to come find it. These claims would be evaluated in a court of law and by the judiciary system, so to say, executive, legislative, judiciary, as applicable constitutional statutory test. Yeah. Period. It's not according to a generalized definition in the Constitution, nor in a courtroom. In a courtroom, it's definitive as set precedent, set standing, credibility, validity, period, and reliability for the already set precedent in a courtroom to argue Luciferian Satanism in a court of law against a defendant. You do the same thing with Christianity. You do the same thing with radical Islam. You do the same thing when you hear it's an active shooter. Well, it's Islamic. Where's the prayer rug? Where's the Quran? You're going to do it in a prison. There's a vast majority of Islam in prison. Plenty of Qurans, plenty of prayer rugs, plenty of directional signs toward Mecca. But where are the directional signs to the Luciferian books in the library? Where are the signs to the Satanist books in the library? They're the signs to the Quran and the Christian texts in the library. What does the particular individual believe? Do they believe Satan is going to command them to kill everybody in society, in prison? What about the Christians? What about the Holy Wars? How many times have you heard we need the Templar in 2026? Black people got to get the white people before the white people get them. The white people got to get the black people before the black people come get all of them. When there's a big case of somebody of a specific race, religion, creed, nationality, culture, or subculture that dies. It's the same freaking thing. You're doing it, but you're using Hollywood and what social media has taught you. The evil pictures. How many of you dress goth? How many of you like the goth lifestyle? How many of you listen to metal? What's your favorite metal band? Huh? Oh, I don't like metal, Doc. I like rap. Well, good. You like rap music that talks about women like dogs and prostitutes. Find it on YouTube. Find it on social media. Find it. It's everywhere. Cheers to it. The practice is being requested. Someone wants to practice their religious constitutional privilege and right. The belief, sincerely held by you, that it's bad or good, you're going to have to make that decision in a criminological aspect if you're going to be in the CJ system and work criminal cases that involve Luciferian and Satanistic practices, commonly known when stupid people talk as the occult. It's not an occult case. It's not. None of that is the occult. Occult is an identity assigned by someone who is lacking in an education and lacking in understanding the differences. How many methods, how many, so to say, styles of Judaism is there? Matter of fact, let's look this up. Let's prove this so that somebody doesn't want to say, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking. Yeah, we're about to prove it right here. So if you want to run away and be like, I don't like this guy, he's hurting my feelings, well, go ahead and run away. How many, we'll just put sex, as in sect, not sex. If someone knows, go ahead and put it in the chat. If somebody knows that they're on the node end, put it in the chat. Good grief. 4 main modern religious movements, Judaism. I'm going to open this up for everybody. Yeah. I'll catch one. Give me a second, guys. Let me push it over. We just did a stupid googly search, man. Yeah, dumb googly search. Wrong one. That's the vertical, dude. There it is. Let's go to this. I want everybody to see this right here, okay? 4 main religious movements. 4. That's what, I mean, guys, this is just on Googly, okay? This is not like, hey, we did a scholarly search, we did detailed, but this is just what the common Joe Schmo out there is going to know. They're not going to understand that there are different methodologies, different beliefs, different measures of understanding. Let me see. Conservative, Reform, Reconstructionist, Orthodox, Humanistic, Dual Renewal, additional Jewish communities shaped by culture, ethnic traditions. I'm not even going to get into trying to understand any of this. Hasidic, okay, Hasidic, I know what that is, or Hasidic communities around where I live. So, Orthodox, transitioned. One would argue, oh, Satanism, Satan. But you're not even willing to comprehend that there are different levels of the religious practices protected by the Constitution that you're aware of, or you've dealt with, or had to, educate yourself on in your lifetime. But you don't even know what Satanism is or Luciferianism is. It's just the satanic temple, worship of the devil. That's what people would say. The distinction frequently appears in that public debate with Satanism, the satanic, devil. The assumption that devil worship is ritualistic. It's violence. The attempt to promote evil, dismember kids, cats, goats, dogs on an altar. This is arbitrarily incorrect, people. It is. It's incorrect. You got to do your research on it. Now, I'm not saying you have to accept it. I'm not saying you have to like it. I'm not saying you have to dislike it. That's all up to you. But it is protected by the Constitution if it's done as a religious practice and it is not harmful to the public, or it does not violate federal legislative word of law, rule of law, or state legislative word of law, code annotated, state statute, penal code, whatever it may be. The distinct, frequent differences that people miss. It's not always what you think it is, man. It's not. Courts do not ordinarily resolve religious liberty disputes by asking the claimant whether their theology matches public understanding of their religion, because the public doesn't understand it. How many of you do not truly understand what Islam is? How many of you have been in a mosque? How many of you have really read a real Quran? Which way does it read? What is the text truly written in? How many of you have really sat and talked to a real imam in the Asian theater? Not in the United States. No, not some westernized imam. Talking about one in the box. Yes. The belief, the supernatural. You believe it. The tradition of clergy teaching you what it is, corrupting your constitutional mind frame. Now, I know all of you are like, well, it's bad. Luciferian, Satanistic, goes against everything the church taught me, or God, Jesus, Catholic, Judaism, whatever your religion is, it goes against everything. But you're against that and you claim to be, well, I'm a foundationist. I'm based, white power, black power, Constitution, my people. But you're against it. You're not based. You're not a constitutionalist. Oh, hurt your feelings. You're not a constitutionalist because you have an arbitrary mental argument. You have a repulsive stereotype against something, but you're not willing to go full tilt within the CJ system, legislative rule of law, federal, state, constitution, amendments, rights, privileges, to really define your understanding in the hedonistic practices that you would think to be Luciferian and Satanism. It's what you were taught. It's what Hollywood taught you. It's what mom taught you, dad taught you, grandma. Uncle Bob was a pastor. He taught us everything. Now, we're not saying that evil things do not exist. Believe me, I've been in a house that was on fire and watched the guy get shot as he burned his kids and got right back up like nothing happened. Yep, he went to prison for life. I mean, that guy stood up like nothing happened. He got shot multiple times, trust me. I mean, yeah, there are weird things in the world. Weird. So, it's not automatically Satanism, guys, girls, people, but it is protected too. Remember this. I know it's hurting somebody's feelings. It's hurting somebody's feelings. Let me see what's going on in the node. I know. That is the narrow lines. That is a narrow line to walk. What? But protecting somebody's constitutional privilege and right? They're Satanists. They go against what you believe, what you were taught as a child. Yeah, and this is CJTV. Criminal justice, psychology, sociology, hurting feelings to the point. It is what it is. Everybody's, I want to be a police officer. I'm going to go and join this, join ICE, join the FBI, join the U.S. Marshals, kick doors down, take the bad guy down. But you're not willing to educate yourself and understand that there are fundamentally greater things out there. The flash of the fast car, the badge, the power, the movement, the adrenaline, that's a grain of sand on the aesthetic beach of this CJ system. This topic is maybe 2 grains of sand on the beach. Yeah, maybe 2. The distinct essentials. Yep. Certainty reveals genuine claim that you understand in being able to be the award-winning religious liberty claim person, merely not by just saying you can describe what you think you know, but being able to argue it scholarly. Think of being in a courtroom. Yeah, this be for real. What if you were an investigator and everything's pointing toward the local Luciferian, but you find something that is questionable that would exonerate them? You're going to hide it? You're going to just sweep it under the table? Or you're going to be a real investigator? I know the DA hates you because the DA goes to the local Sunday church there every Wednesday when the doors are open. Every time a pot of spaghetti's cooking on the church stove, he's there. Family, wife, kiddos, playing under the church tree with the big white cross, the big steeple. But the Luciferian is being investigated. The DA wants him arrested. The police chief, the sheriff, the community want them gone down. The religious liberty at fault of Luciferian. But you're the investigator. How many of you are going to have the gonads or the nuts, the gall, the gut, to argue the difference, let alone the case evidence, the claim, the constitutional protections, 6th Amendment, 8th, 5th, 1st? No. 4th? Go get him. Yeah, go get him. Screw that. The devil has no constitutional protection. Yeah, you got to understand that. The devil is in the courtroom, people. The devil is in the courtroom through influence. They're so dastardly evil. It's like I said in the past, more mental illness, people that have mental illness that through my career I've seen have been victimized more than they are the victimizer. Everybody thinks that mental illness is the ultimate evil. Now, I've seen more mental illness be the victim of those without mental illness. Now, everybody's got a mental illness or two. Believe me, everyone. Some of you just from jumping in this show and hearing the topic of the devil, Luciferian, Satanism, protection. Oh, I'm a constitutionalist. Yeah. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a this person. I'm a militia. I'm the black militia, white militia. I'm the left wing, the socialist, protection of this. But as soon as somebody says something that chimes the hair on your back and your butt and puts a little fear in you, oh, no longer is it, cause for protection. Oh my God, it's scary. Favoritism toward religion. Yes, favoritism. I'm not arguing for Satanism, Luciferian. I'm not arguing against it. It's protected. It's the establishment clause called the Constitution. People forget that. The free exercise clause of religious practice. Yeah, it's not automatically, so to say, invalidated when it's a religion that you don't like or it puts chills down your spine. Oh, the burdens of religion, right? The burden of your religion. We were taught that's bad. The culture, the ethic transition of training. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad, bad, bad. The devil. Oh, yeah. Sex in the devil's cell. And you're buying all day long. You're buying the Supreme Court, modern cases, okay? Decisions emphasize that free exercise and establishment clauses in, the arguments of the Supreme Court must be interpreted together the same about religion versus treating each religion as a private religious expression of automatic constitutionality or unconstitutionality. It's all going to be argued the same. Therefore, credibility, reliability, set precedent that creates reliability on arguing a case that has religious context to it. One is not greater than the other as it is described in the Constitution. Yep. Let me see. I've got something right here that actually argues that. Hold on a minute. Kennedy versus Bremerton District School. The court rejected that the former limited framework established historical practices under the establishment in established clause analysis. That means, in layman terms, what was argued in that case is religion that was an influence on action, religion that was an influence on belief, religion that was an influence on interpretation, religion that was an influence based on developmental culture, developmental subculture, instillment of ideology, sometimes to be transformed into edict or rhetoric or whatever it may be. But the court argued. You can't argue it unconstitutional. There is a framework for arguing this in the Constitution. The Establishment Clause, right? The government may not select an official faith. Oh my gosh. Where's it at? Challenge you, go find it. Where's the law that says Satanism is illegal? Being a Luciferian is illegal. Where? It's not. It's not anywhere. But there are established clauses argued by the United States Supreme Court and using the Constitution that argue you can't see it that way. You can't argue it that way. There's no official national observance. So, now the devil's in the courtroom. Now, Lucifer, Beelzebub, Mephistopheles is in your courtroom, in your head, in your brain. The difficulty disputes now happen. The jury neutrality is no longer in existence. Why? A jury. Witness is the worst piece of evidence on earth. A jury is the worst piece of decision making in the trial process, in the judiciary review. The judge can say non-considered all day long. Get a jury full of Christians, and Protestants, and Catholics with a case that involves Satanistic prayer, verbiage, satanic verses, the Satanic Temple, mentioning of specific demonic names. But someone learned this in demonology that was taught in theology school. It's good for the pastor to know the names, but dying shouldn't. You're just a simpleton in society. Don't know the names. Oh my gosh. It's kind of like you're a simpleton. Trust us. We're the government, right? We know what's best for you. No. At a minimum, learn on your own. So hopefully some of you have learned that Satanism and Luciferian are two different freaking things, okay? separate. But a lot of it has ties to other religion, believe it or not. Christianity and Luciferian are got a lot of close ties to each other. Do your own research on it. A judge should not decide which supernatural account is true. I agree with that. That's who did that? A legal mind. Yeah, you were here last week saying stuff. Cool, thanks. Yeah, that's true. A judge should not decide. Should not decide. Man, guys, this is good for the mods that are watching. This thing is like running like a minute behind, but it's okay. YouTube and Rumble are pretty much a minute to 2 minute behind. This thing's pretty good. Religion, community, ethics, ritual, symbolism, and advocacy can coexist. Well, yeah, they can coexist. They're supposed to coexist. That's called something, I don't know, titled as the Constitution. Yeah. That was actually argued first in the Magna Carta, which was a big influence on the Declaration of Independence. Constitution and all that good stuff. And the Declaration of Man, the French, that influenced the Constitution, which the Declaration of Man itself also does include those spiritual beliefs that are scary in society. And if we really look into it, yeah, so does the Constitution sometimes in some places under Supreme Court argument. All right, not saying that it's saying, hey, Satan in the Constitution. I'm just saying Supreme Court set precedent, validity, reliability, accountability for judiciary review, which should be, practiced and observed. And so the Satanist requesting exposure to content, are you going to supply it? You're going to tell them where they're going to go? Well, I work in a library. Do you have any satanic literature? Get out. Yeah. You work in a library, but the library is funded by the local city, funded by the government, funded by the states, funded by... Now you got a lawsuit on your hands, librarian. Good job. Bend over sideways, librarian. Educate yourself a little bit more. You're going to quietly exclude someone thinking that the mouths will be sewn shut like a horror movie. Not really, they're not. That is called a religious discrimination clause or question in judiciary review. The pressure of the citizens, so to say. But have no fear, social media is there. It's going to turn into a social media acolyte and social media trial. And the majority of those that, I know the Constitution, I know my rights, I know privileges, they do not have the right to practice Satanism. Luciferian. Yeah, they do. Yep, they sure do. Just like the four main realms of Judaism. Do your own homework, guys. I just brought it up a couple of minutes ago. I'm not going to bring it up again. If you want to see it, scroll back. It's not hard. It is not hard. You'll bend over backward. Which way's Mecca? That way. Yeah, don't want to be called racist, do you? Don't want to be called racist, man. Against a religion or a color of skin or a culture or a subculture, but be damned, Satan. Satan. Yeah, be damned, Luciferian. Yeah, Be damned that. But you're supposed to be in the CJ system, correct? Law enforcement, future judges, scholars, developing scholars. You've got to understand that this is part of the job. It's just like sex, sin, the nature of the beast, the blood, the guts, the murder, the mayhem, the profanity. That's why in my classes, everybody signs a disclosure and syllabus acceptance because we talk about these things. Yeah, I've been in classrooms where something comes out and somebody gets their butt in a wad. You said something, or somebody said something, that sounded bad against black people, or Mexican people, or white people. If you can't take in this classroom, you're going to get mutilated out there in the streets in the CJ system. Especially when it comes to Satanistic behavior, Satanistic beliefs. Yeah, what are you going to be in your fancy police car and your uniform? Hey, can you tell me where the Satanic temple is? Are you going to lose your shit? You're going to cry? You're going to get away from me, Satanist. Luciferians. Oh, I gotta go. Let's keep those illegal aliens here and get rid of the Satanists. What is that going to be your mindset? Is that going to be the way you roll? Copper? Judicial review? Judge? Lawyer? Attorney of the future? I'm going to get my bachelor's degree and take the LSAT. Hey, Dr. Gurley, would you do me a reference so that I could, go to LSAT selection and go to law school? No! I remember the day you were in class and you were upset and got your panties in a wad because we mentioned something about race, creed, color, and Luciferian. Yeah, and you decided, well, that's not constitutional. I can't protect it because it's the devil. Mama taught me. Mama taught you wrong. You want to be in the CJ system, it's protected too. This is not a show about pro-Satanism or, Luciferian. It's not, or negative about either one. It's just like we should. 4 main Orthodox versions of Judaism. And you're going to try out there in society to take the two, Luciferian and Satanism, and combine them into one, not knowing the aesthetics of each of it, thinking that it's tied to one entity, one little image is some freaky guy with some stupid ass horns. Yeah. Good job, cops. Good job, attorneys. Good job, prosecutors and defenders. Good job, society. So, all you constitutionalists and all you group members that are against it, well then, you're against what you stand for. Yes, you are. And let me hurt you again. Are you right wings? You're like, I'm constitutionalist. Well, you'll find more left wings that are more lenient toward understanding the Satanist church, Luciferian. And you'll find some right wings that are doing the job the right way and understand it, and what? Constitutional privilege of not accept it, but legally deal with it. One would say tolerate it, is what it is, but it's still protected. Man, there's good and bad on both sides, right? One big bird with 2 broken, dirty ass wings. Man, imagine what being in a class with me is like. Entertaining. So, to close this out, if you're in a courtroom and you're arguing Satan, Luciferianism, not understanding the difference between the two, here's what you're going to face in a courtroom, and here's how you're going to be made to look this stupid and this intelligent by a good cross-examining attorney, especially one that's a constitutional attorney. And I met one the other day. That big group I told you, that meeting I went to, I mean, there were a lot of upper-tiered echelon people. I'm like government, like high up there, government, governors, and just crap. Yeah, I walked in and it was like, who in the, what the fuck? Yeah. And nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody. Why? That image. How many of you like that spooky kabuki image? Luciferian? Maybe? No. But here are the things you're going to have to deal with in a courtroom if you choose to be the delinquent of constitutional clause, argument, set precedent, opinion, and decision that's defended by the U.S. Constitution, the amendments, the privileges, and the rights. Is the disputed practice religious? Is it religious? Is Wicca? Let's worship some lettuce and some squirrels. Christianity? Let's worship some wood, a cross, a virgin. Things that could be argued, things that could be negated right back. Well, your God's dead. Your God that's a human being died. He didn't rise from the dead. Jesus rose from the dead. Muhammad died. Dust. Muhammad tried to get in with Judaism before Islam, but he got turned down. It's in the Quran. Go talk to a real imam, not a westernized imam. Yeah. When does an archangel really scared of a puppy? Thus Muhammad did not return or couldn't come bring the answer of an angel back to the Jewish council. Because there was a dog there, a puppy, and the angel was scared. What do you think? It's not a good practice to have dogs in your house in Islam. An archangel scared of a puppy? Oh my gosh, is it a true religious practice? That's the number one thing you're going to be confronted with. And you're going to have to argue it. Satanism? Luciferian? How do I know? I dealt with it with Interpol in the European theater. I know that. I've dealt with it before. The case I worked for aiding Interpol, licanism, licanistic, werewolf, blood, heretics, the cult, as people would say. Yeah. Had more Luciferian practice than it had anything else. The claims that the beliefs are sincere. How are you going to argue they're sincere or they're not? Where are you going to get your validity? Where are you going to get your proof? Where are you going to get your experts? Oh, my gosh, protected by the Constitution. Has the government imposed a meaningful burden on proof against the religion or for the religion? Come on, future attorneys and lawyers, future defenders of the constitutional privileges. How are you going to argue it? Is the rule neutral? Is it generally applicable? What rule? What applies? What set precedent? What judiciary review from a federal district court are you going to use to counter, to set the precedent, so that it is a neutral rule that applies in your case about Satanism or Luciferian practice? You got to find it. Where are you going to find it? How are you going to define it? Oh my gosh. Here we go. Future attorneys and lawyers. Here is when I change my mind. Since sincerely review differs from deciding whether religion is true. I will be checking cases differently. Oh, all of you are checking. What is that? A dual? Yeah, you're both going to be checking cases. Everybody's like going to be checking cases differently now. 1, 2, 3. Let me guess. You're all law enforcement based. Law enforcement concentration. Yeah, you better be checking cases differently. And stop plagiarizing each other's comments. I know you're going to be checking cases differently. 2 more. Is the compelling interest of the case involved, and you're going to use religion, Satanism, Luciferian, or is it compelling enough to argue as interest in the case? Is it? What? Somebody got mayhemed? The devil made him do it. Okay, where's the psychological review? Oh my God, there's another touch to it. Where's the psychological evaluation that they're just not, I don't know, mentally deficient or something, but they say they practice Luciferianism and they pray to the devil and Satan. Do they know the difference? Do you know the difference? Yeah. Is it compelling enough to have interest in the case? Or is it subversive to the case to distort even the best of arguments, even the dumb judge who's going to tell the jury what they shall or shall not consider? Yeah. The government. Has the government used a sufficient enough narrowing method? The government meaning the judicial system, the courts, the prosecutor, the defender's attorney, the police. That's the government, right? Judicial review, right? Executive enforcement of first hands of judicial review. They're not the ones that are the legislative writing of the law. Those are the, state reps and congressmen, all that good stuff. But the judge is going to be the easiest one to refute and be the one that creates the burden of neutrality and question in the general courtroom because it's constitutionally protected. Now I know. Fear, burden, the devil, monsters. Mom said no. The pastor told us that the devil exists and he'll make you do bad things. Well, every religion has that, evil deity, that evil spiritual indwellment or embodiment into that religion. Yeah, every religion has its infidel. Every religion has its Mephistopheles. Let me see. Non-theistic religion makes definition difficult, but not impossible. Well, it's not impossible, but it's different. It's more theoretical. Not necessarily, all the time one would be able to believe that it's hands-on. We're going to go have lunch with Hitler and the devil. Hitler's like, I gotta, hit the road, guys. I gotta go, slaughter more people next week. No, can't put your hands on that. It's the belief system. Black power, white power, right? It is what it is. If you're going to argue this, argue it scholarly. Don't be scared. It's one thing people in universities and colleges and society are scared about. If you can't argue it or talk about it and do true scholarly research or data mining of peer review research, something that has a neutral argument in the courtroom, then you're not going to survive out there in the real world. You're not. Everybody's going to turn it into some whiny crybaby bag of tears or pearl clutching. Yeah. So, in your careers, when you come across that criminal investigation that somebody says, oh, there's some satanic practice in here. These are some Luciferian believing people. Yeah. Maybe you'll go back in time and say, hey, I remember this episode I watched. CJTV didn't cover everything because this is not a replacement for a classroom, people. It's not. But, I forgot about this. Let me do this before I go. Kind of as usual, we try to punch some stuff out. It's right there. Yep. Go to our Facebook, right there in the non-ticker, right where my finger's at. Dr. Mike Gurley, CJTV, lower JTV. Go download it. I've covered man, not even a quarter tonight. Just talking, having fun with you guys. But there's so much in here. Go download it. Use it. Especially, if you're going to be doing something in CJ, or if you're going to be doing something that is, goal-oriented for constitutional protection, religion, race, creed, gender, whatever it is, man, you never know when you're going to come across something like this. It's good to have it, and good to have it in your repertoire or basket of ammunition, so to say. Your trigger collection. Your trigger. And we don't make any money, but semester's coming. Yep. Everybody knows what that is, right? Cash App, so to say. That's it. We're trying to get some funding for a new printer. If you like it, hit the like. If you want to subscribe, hit the subscribe. If you like it, put it out there to the masses. It'll go in the algorithm. But if you don't, we don't care. So, it's been a privilege. It's been an honor talking about Satan, the devil, and Luciferianism, and it all being protected by the Constitution. I didn't say violence. I didn't say crime. I said the aesthetic of individualism, religion, practice. Heck, bring this up here. We'll show it. Oh my goodness. Judaism is, they've got 4 main religious movements. 4. Satanist is just Satan, the devil. What is it now? Is it Lucifer, Beelzebub? What are the names? Satanism, Lucifer, Luciferian. Is that 2 monsters? Or is that 2 religions? Or is it 2 shit, figure it out yourself, people. I just told you the definition of the shifts of the 2, or go download the document. Go, get it, right there. Right there. Join the page. Go download it. Go download it. Halloween's coming. Go buy your Satan mask. So who's really researching Satanism right now? Is it you?